Hi, I'm Ed Del Castillo, president of Liquid Entertainment and director on Rise of the Argonauts.
Rise of the Argonauts is a new RPG that's released later this year. Can you tell us a bit about the story of the game?
Well, you play Jason, who's on the eve of his wedding. His wife gets murdered, and he decides to save her by finding the only thing in the Greek mythology that can get her back, which is the Golden Fleece. So you gather together some of Greece's finest heroes. You board a great mythical boat, and you travel from island to island, kind of getting all the information and leveling up and fighting monsters and doing everything you need to eventually get to the fleece and save your wife.
You know, it's all set in the Greek mythology. Why did you choose for that setting?
A couple of reasons. One, it's a great fantasy setting. Two, it's got this amazing dichotomy of very cerebral and philosophical thinking and civilization, yet incredibly brutal and savage combat. You know, they had weapons that couldn't stay sharp, and they were literally just beating the crap out of each other. So there's this great yin and yang there. So there's that great tension. But on top of that, the Greek myths are a really incredible beginning of morality. You know, they're this great exploration of the best that man has to offer and the worst that man has to offer. And I thought the concept of bringing morality and ethics to a video game, apart from what you normally see as the connection of religion, was an incredible thing and very empowering as a human.
Right. Well, of course, in a video game you can't really follow the myth exactly. How far are you true to the myth?
I got to be honest. We're very loose. We're not true to the myth at all. I mean, the core parts of the story and some of the core characters are still the same, but we really wanted to make it relevant to today. And some of the myth is just so ancient that it would be very difficult to kind of bring it forward. So what we did was we said to ourselves, we really don't want to be a history book. What we want instead is to inspire people to go back and look at the myths on their own. So we've really tried to just get the very best flavor that we possibly could.
Right. Well, it's an action RPG. How will the combat work? Because you just explained it won't be like an ordinary RPG, but you're really just more hack and slash. Is that true?
Yeah, it is true. I mean, I think that the simplest way to put it is, imagine the normal RPG combat that you're used to, which is I walk up to somebody and I swing and I hit for 3 points of damage, and then they swing and then they hit me for 5 points of damage, and we do this ad nauseum until one of us is dead. And replace that with more Devil May Cry or Ninja Gaiden style fighting. That's probably the easiest way I can say it. It's not any more fighting than you would see in an RPG. It's not any less. It's the same proportion. It's just that fighting is a lot cooler than you're used to playing in an RPG.
Right. Well, in the game you get to say follow certain paths, like the path from different gods. How will that work?
Okay, so there's two ways you can affect the paths. One is, as you're doing things in the world, we give you deeds. Those deeds are things you can dedicate to the gods, and when you dedicate them to the gods, it increases your favor with them. So that's how you follow the paths of the gods from an action perspective. Also in dialogue, we have each of the gods has kind of a personality type, and depending on which personality you feel like you want to play, that god will like you more. If you act like Hermes, that god will like you more. If you act like Ares, that god will like you more. And so you'll also gain experience in his path if you choose his dialogue choices as well as his action choices.
Right. Well, we just saw a bit of the dialogue. It reminds very much of, Knights of the Old Republic and Mass Effect, also with the choosing in a different path. Did you use those games as a kind of inspiration for Argonauts?
The truth is no, only because we started right around the time. We started before we knew anything about Mass Effect, but we certainly have looked at Mass Effect since then and kind of figured out what we thought were the strengths and weaknesses of their system and tried to reduce the weaknesses and increase the strengths. And I think we have a system that I personally like better.
Right, well, in the game you got the action, you got the dialogue, you got the story and everything. It's a lot of elements. Aren't you afraid you're putting too much in the game and get, can't work out all the elements very good, so you get some poor elements and some are better.
You know, that's the challenge that every RPG has, because every RPG has to have dialogue, has to have character growth, has to have exploration. So RPGs are just big games, you know, and they're big experiences as a result. When they work really, really well, and when they fail really, really well. So we're hoping, you know, we're hoping that with the combined effort of Codemasters and the time that we've been given, that everybody will be really happy with the results. I mean, Codemasters has been super supportive about having a very top-notch 90-plus game.
All right, well, what do you personally think is the best feature in the game, really the reason to get it later this year?
I think the best feature of the game is the reduction of all of the clutter from RPG. I think the fact that we've reduced the menus, we've reduced the HUD, we've reduced all of that stuff. So you're spending more than 50% of your time. You know, most RPGs you spend more than 50% of your time in menus, and we're reversing that. We're making it so you're spending almost all of your time in the game. And I think for people who have been playing RPGs forever, they're going to really appreciate that. They're going to really appreciate the fact that they're in the world almost all the time. And I think that is the killer reason. That's the killer app. That's the killer reason to try this new RPG.